All right. So, what did we say about intros? Who's going first, or how do you want to intro it? You can intro. You're the big man. You're the boss.
What do we want to talk about?
I figured since this is the first one, maybe we could go ahead and just sort of introduce ourselves, introduce the idea of the podcast, what we're trying to do with it, as opposed to I know we have some stuff we want to cover on some literature and some practical applications from that, but I think it would be a good idea to just start off with who we are, what we're doing, bearing in mind that all of this now where we're talking I can cut out. So
just open conversation.
Yeah. So maybe we do it from the perspective of, I will ask you some questions, see what we're about, what we're trying to do, and then we can go from there.
So a bit of history.
Yeah.
How Unbound came to be.
Yeah. So that's a good idea. So basically, how did Unbound come to be?
Well, interesting. It actually just started as a part-time cash job for myself, working as a technician and studying at university as well. It was extra cash for me, working mornings, working afternoons, doing double jobs, which ended up being something full-time, working for someone else. There was never any intention to start my own thing or end up kind of taking it further. And it kind of just happened to come to be. So we ended up purchasing an established business that needed to sell, and then rebranding over time and slowly changing things based on the way things were heading and based on time. It was very much needed for things to pivot and change, as we see in most industries. You really have to adapt and make sure that you're ahead of the curve. And it gave us an opportunity to really push in the direction that we wanted to go in, which was more the functional training space, but taking a lot of what's in strength and conditioning and what's in the literature and applying that to it. So a lot of structure, a lot of periodization, a lot more purpose in terms of the training, while still maintaining the community element that you gain from group classes.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, so when you first started here, it was like that part-time job that was Breaking Point Fitness at the time? Yeah.
Breaking Point Fitness.
Was there CrossFit here at that point?
Not CrossFit as such. It did just start coming in as I started coaching more. I did work at a regular gym before that for 3 years, and then which was Breathe, and then ended up training at the facility, and then later on coaching for the owner of the facility.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I probably shouldn't bump that mic. So, you mentioned sort of trying to bring it into more of the structured strength progressions and strength and conditioning kind of aspects, where a lot of gyms around are kind of just going on that, like they're still doing the functional training, but it's kind of just whatever suits on the day. There's not much progression to it, there's not much structure. It's just, here's a 30-minute workout, then we're gonna pump you silly until you're finished.
Yeah, I think the biggest, I suppose, gap in the market that we see for myself and you both is the people writing the program and creating the structure and the intent aren't the ones taking the program. Yeah. Which means that there's something being missed. All right. So you might see with franchises where it's like, okay, you've got F45s in different demographics just because everyone knows an F45. Good programming modalities, but it's the same for every demographic.
Yeah.
Right. And those coaches aren't exactly involved in writing that program for their clientele. So that's something we do pride ourselves on. That's why we keep everything in-house, because it does give us that element to make change a little bit quicker, rather than, okay, we've got to go through a 3-month process of discussion, what needs to change, and then it only gets implemented by the time you need more change. Yeah.
And I guess that's a good thing, you see at some of these other gyms, you've got 50-year-old Sally, and they're asking her to do rebounding box jumps, whereas 50-year-old Sally shouldn't be doing rebounding box jumps. She should be probably doing step-ups or potentially jumping onto a 2-inch plate, and that's just a specific modification for her, but you see a lot of these places that don't have, I don't want to say the know-how to do it, but just the investment's not there maybe.
Yeah, different time too. Like I think something that I see in the industry a lot is comparison's a big thing. All right, everything's in everyone's face all the time on social media and technology, but there's no timestamp. So no one's like, oh, okay, these coaches are new in the industry, they're still going through their learning. For us, and I know me personally, if I look back at my programs that I wrote initially, I can't believe I charged for them. And even if I think about the way I coached, it's not like you step into the industry an expert. You make a lot of mistakes and you make them quickly and you learn. Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, I spent 3 years studying exercise and nutrition, and I came out of uni with still no idea how to program. I had all these underlying principles and knew sort of the physiology behind what I was trying to do, but I had no idea how to do it. And I've been coaching now since uni for nearly 3 years, and now do I feel like I'm starting to actually understand how to apply things to people. I still occasionally give somebody a workout that I look back on and go, oh man, that was shit. Not in that it was a hard workout, it was a bad workout. I actually programmed something that I would never give to myself.
Yeah, it's not suited.
Yeah, just not sort of understanding how to get what I was after from that person. Thankfully, that happens a lot less now. And learning, I guess, just learning how to...
It's what drives price. So a lot of people look at value and they go, okay, it's just a number. But behind that value is those lessons.
Yeah.
You have someone who's charging $40 for the session who's a first year, third year, or maybe hasn't experienced a lot of those training higher or more challenging clients and having to problem fix at that level. Yeah. And then the ones that you're paying more for, you're paying more because they are there. They've been through that. They've learned those lessons, and they're not going to learn them with you. You're going to get... You potentially can get the same result from the same person, from each person, but one will get you there faster. So you might pay $150 a session, but it might take you 5 sessions.
Yeah.
And where you might pay $40 a session, but it takes you 40 sessions.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things I learned while I was working in rugby, trying to do strength and conditioning, is that, there's no, and I still very much believe this, there's no one right way to do something. If I want to get your squat numbers up, there's a few ways we can do that, and neither of them is bad. It just depends on you. What program are you going to follow? What program are you going to enjoy? And which program is going to leave you feeling the least beat up? There's no point in me putting 10 kilos on your squat in 6 weeks if it means that you can't squat because your knees are fucked.
Yeah, that's it.
Your legs might be strong, but your joints aren't. So I think it's just learning what the good ways or the best way for someone is, and how to implement that for them. I said to my clients all the time, like, I can write the best program in the world, but it sucks if you don't like it and you don't do it.
Yeah, it's consistency. We all like to make things sound sexy or make them sound like they're the quick fix because it's easy to sell. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I just this morning finished writing a guide for how to find a gym that suits you. And not once did I have to mention any specific training modality. That's not the main driver for success. The main driver for success for most people is just their ability to be consistent. Yeah. Doesn't matter what they do as long as they can keep doing it and turn up.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm actually having this conversation with my mum at the moment, trying to help her find a gym. She's tried CrossFit. She's tried here, and for her, it's just not what she wants to do. She doesn't like the CrossFit style of training. So trying to help her find something, and that's the number one thing I keep saying to her is it doesn't matter what it is as long as you're going to do it. And if I'm not going to force you to come here if every time you come here you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'd rather see you go
negative relationship.
Yeah, I'd rather see you go and do yoga or Pilates or something that you enjoy, because at the end of the day, adherence is like the number one thing.
Yeah.
Number one thing for progress. You've got to do it over time.
Yeah, and I think I've been in industry a lot longer than you have, so I've seen kind of on the front side of it that being said, you have done a lot of the literature side of it.
Yeah.
So in terms of the prac, I mean, we hear the conversation all the time. You think about what a lot of members say to us. They're like, oh, another gym in your area or another this. But if you actually look at the numbers, it's not that there's too many gyms. I think it kind of ties into that, where you've only got a small percentage of the population that are actually looking like for something with that they can adhere to, or that can help them create the change or gain the things they want, whether it be weight loss, whether it be general health and fitness. And then you've got, I mean, you look at us here, all right, we've only got 35% of the local population that exercise. So if that went to 50%, every gym would be full.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's part of it. You know, there's 10,000 something people in North Lakes, and
it's like 45,000.
Oh well, I'm way off. Maybe 10,000 exercise. I don't even know. Definitely not even that. But you know, for reference, North Lakes is, for people that don't know North Lakes is a pretty small suburb. I mean, it's pretty big. Like, it's pretty full of people, obviously. But I mean, can you imagine if we had, like you said, 50% of those people in gyms? It'd be insane. I think a lot of those people work out, they move around and that kind of thing. Or maybe not work out, but they walk, they might go for a run, bike ride. They're somewhat active. But seeing those people in gyms would be good. Very.
Yeah, just trying new things. I think adding some variety. I mean, we say it to our members too. Like, a lot of our members, they do CrossFit as some base training, but we very much try and incentivize them to go out for a hike or a bike ride or swim or do some other forms of activity. Yeah.
I think something we see a lot, and I wouldn't mind talking on a little bit, is like it's different for different people. Like, so for me, CrossFit's my sport. And that's it. Like, I train CrossFit to be really good at CrossFit, or even just fitness to be really good at fitness. And I think we see a lot of people who are in the gym as a weight loss modality or a weight loss something to substitute that weight loss and that activity, but we don't see ourselves outside using that fitness as much as we probably should.
The functionality behind what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm the first person to advocate like functional training, body weight stuff, free weights, etc. Not sitting down on a leg pressing for 3 sets of 10. And sometimes I do see that we might be a bit more functional, but getting people outdoors and getting them doing actual functional activities is really where you get to use your fitness.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things I got told was it's your ability to say I can. So when someone outside of here asks you for something or asks you to do something, a lot of time people will think, oh, look, do you want to go for coffee? What about the time someone says, hey, do you want to go for the hike, or do you want to go for the mountain climb? Do you say no because you can't do that, because you're not functional enough to do that?
Yeah.
Or do you say no because you just don't want to? And it's about the choice. You want to have the choice. You don't want it to be, oh, well, I can't go swim with you and enjoy those activities, build those memories, have those experiences because I can't swim.
Yeah. I think, I like that, it's, there's a quote. It's, it's like by Plato or something. It's a shame to see. It's a shame to see. It's a shame to see a man live his life without ever seeing the potential of his body. I butchered that horrendously, but let me just Google this about exercise. Oh, I can't find it.
Yeah, the Greeks have some good ones on that too.
Here we go. Found it. No man has a right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. It's Socrates, not Plato. But that's exactly the thing, I don't want to be mean or bullying or anything like that, but I think it's quite hard to see someone who if they had to run for their life, they would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a very unique time we live in where you don't have those.
Yeah,
those needs.
and I want to, and we here want to help people make sure that they, you know, they can still run, they can do all these things. You know, you got to crawl under the car to get your kid's soccer ball out front of the car. We want you to be able to do that, whatever it might be. But I think that's where trying to get in the gym, train functionally, allows you to do that, so that you are strong enough to get yourself off the floor. You are strong enough in your legs to jump up a step or jump off a step, something like that. As you get older, you know, you don't want to start, you know, hit your 50s, 60s, and you start becoming frail. You can't pick up the esky off the floor without tweaking your back.
And you don't want to have those regrets. I mean, for anyone who's listening and wants a little bit more on that, if you look at key stages in life where that's extremely important, we know that it's between the 30 to 40s.
Yeah.
It is very important to be extremely active and extremely balanced and healthy during those periods for increased longevity. And when we say longevity, we mean quality as well.
Yeah.
We don't just mean, okay, the end number is I made 105, but from 65, I was non-functional.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be able, I mean, this might be a bit far-fetched, but you want to be 100 years old still jumping around playing with the grandkids. I remember my granny lived to 103, and the last time I saw her before she died, you know, she was playing with us. We were 6-7 years old. She was playing with us in the garden out the back.
Yeah.
And that's just from a generation that, you know, that they may have not exercised or trained as much, but they were outdoors more. They walked places. They did things like that. And it just goes to show that can really lead to living a quality life for longer. Not only that, but it helps stave off some of those mental deteriorations that come in as well. There's lots of research out there to show that physical activity helps to keep away Alzheimer's, dementia, those kinds of things. If you've got a genetic predisposition, it's going to happen anyway, but at least you're giving yourself some kind of fighting chance.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the studies that they refer to. I know some of them have gone towards fasting and things like that. So they've taken, we will touch on that in other times, but a lot of the demographics in that they were looking at were shepherds. All right, so you're looking at people who are covering 30 to 50,000 steps a day. Yeah, they don't need to exercise.
No, exactly.
As where if you look at us, all right, I mean, for anyone who knows a little bit more about where the step recommendation comes from, it was actually 15,000 to begin with. Yeah, and they had to bring it down to 10 because they were like, no one's going to even try. Yeah,
exactly. Like, and I think for us, but it's very dependent on what you do for a living. You know, if you're a brickie or something like that, and you're working outside all day, doing physical activity, you know, your training doesn't have to be crazy. But I definitely recommend, you know, if you're sitting behind a desk all day, you got to do something. It's not the be all and end all, but you know, we wear these whoops, and on Tuesday last week, I burnt 5,500 calories. I don't trust the little wearable device, but as a trend, that's like 2,000 more than my Whoop normally reads. And the only difference was it wasn't more training, is I coached all day. I was on my feet all day, and I think I hit like 26,000 steps.
Yeah, so way more active.
Yeah, and it just goes to show it doesn't have to be insane amounts of physical activity. It's just physical activity using your body. That's it.
The watches just bring awareness to that, and then they allow you the choice of change.
Yeah.
So exactly. Do you want to action that? And it's up to you to action. I heard you saying to someone the other day, they asked about it, and you said, as long as you can action what it's telling you, it'll work.
Yeah, exactly. So it's to come full circle again. You know, I think you know, we're a functional fitness gym. We try to help you live a physically active and healthy lifestyle, and just make good choices around what you're doing day to day. At the end of the day, like, coming in here is just it's a habit, and we've actually got it written on the wall. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So, you know, we're trying to get people into the habit of exercising, eating healthy doesn't mean eating, kale for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It just means eating, 80% whole foods, cooked fresh, and plenty of fruit, nuts, and vegetables.
And it has to suit your goals.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point in eating 600 grams of carbs a day if you're not training to sustain 600 grams of carbs a day. There's no point in going eating a ketogenic diet where you have no carbohydrates and you're exercising at high intensities, because you can't sustain that. That's a different conversation, but just on the idea of it has to meet your goals,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a big thing, if we go a little bit more into what we're about, all right, so what we do here, and the reason we chose CrossFit is because of the fact that it doesn't give us limitations. And to expand on that a little bit more, if you have a look at CrossFit, there's a lot of variety, all right, and it is constantly varied, but we can also add other elements to it. So if we go and say to people, okay, we're not snatching for a while because we need to build some better overhead positions, we can change that and we can put slow accessory work in there.
Yeah.
We can take people to the pool, we can develop swimming. If you have people that just coming in for HIIT, they're not going to want to do that.
No.
They're going to be very resistant to that change.
Yeah. I mean, what's it? Adapt or die or something like that. It's your body's this incredible adaptation machine, and we did a talk on this for the members the other day about how training adaptation works. But your body adapts to the stimulus that you put it under. That being said, if the stimulus is always the same, your adaptation slows and you're going to stop getting better. We see it all the time with, and I got a big smile on my face now because it's a funny one. We see it all the time with people mindlessly going through the same thing every single day. I want big calves. I'm going to do 30 calf raises, 3 sets of 30 calf raises a day for 6 months. It's probably not going to get you big calves. It's you might see some change in the first 2 weeks, and then nothing else is going to change. Fine. Yeah, because you're not getting a stressful stimulus anymore. Your body's like, oh God, this again, and it's just going to go through the motions. So that stress, that adaptation comes from new stress, and whether that's making training a little bit harder, us changing up the movements on people, Yeah, we've been doing longer duration runs, 1K plus for a few weeks now, and then us going, all right, now we're going to do 200-meter sprints, or 200-meter hard efforts. That's the volume may go down, but we've now changed the intensity of the workout on you, and now you're going to start to adapt to that change.
And then you also become sensitive to the one you're having a break from.
Exactly. So you can go back into that, and you'll get more gains on that.
Yeah.
So, doing the same thing over and over again, just it doesn't really breed change. And I actually have this all the time when I bring on a new online client that's potentially come from another coach or another training program. The first few weeks with me, they're like, "Oh my God, my numbers are going up. I can do this many pull-ups now. This has changed," and to be honest, it's maybe there's something that we're doing, but for the most part, it's just a different programming style, or the structure that they were following has changed, and now suddenly they can do things they couldn't because I've made them do things that they weren't doing.
It's almost like those beginner gains all over again.
Yeah, you just get beginner gains again. So I think a big one. Yeah, so a big one with all of it is if you just said to someone, all right, you've only got 30 minutes to invest in this. All right, you have everything else going on in life. You want to make sure it's the best 30 minutes for your buck. Yeah.
All right. So, and that's our job. Our job, and a lot of what we're going to do on here is we're going to have open conversations about some of the research and some of the fads and stuff that are out there, which we'll go into later on. But our job isn't to push anything on anyone or have them go for a certain bias. It's just to allow them to make an educated decision. So, okay, well, this would actually suit me, or okay, this is going to be a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I should be going for this.
Yeah, exactly. Again, on that, there's no point in me doing a bunch of core work if it's not what's going to get me the most out of my day, you know. If I'm trying to strengthen up my midline and I'm spending 30 minutes doing sit-ups, planks and V snaps or something like that, when I should be spending 30 minutes doing heavy carries and holds, that's more like we're saying, is just trying to maximize that time, use it well, don't waste it.
Yeah, if it doesn't align with your goals, what are you doing it for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just trying to figure out where to take this now.
I think we got a little bit off track, but I think going back to kind of where we started and what we represent. For anyone who isn't on site or doesn't know us, we're an on-site and we're a remote coaching facility. We have 4 full-time coaches. We have an 850 square meter facility, and we do work with clients on strength and conditioning. We work with clients outside of CrossFit. We do offer CrossFit. We do grit. We do HIIT. We do a lot of mixed modality training. All right. Yeah. So everything follows the same principle. It's all structured. It's all periodized, and it's all trying to make sure that people are getting a little bit of what they want, but most of what they need.
Yeah. I think on that, you know, there's a lot of facilities out there training high level elite athletes, and like, you know, we do have a few here. You know, I work with a young teenager who's you know, everything goes to plan, going to be in the NRL by the time he's 18. So we do have those like high level people here, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is take high level principles and deliver them to the general population, and help them train like athletes and be athletes. Because at the end of the day, that long term is what helps you stay healthy, fit, and moving for the rest of your life, rather than ending up
and I think if we elaborate on that a bit more, people sometimes get scared off by athlete. They're like, oh, okay. But what we mean is the disciplines and behaviors. Yeah. All right. So you'll see an athlete go, I'm not going to eat this chocolate because it doesn't align with my goal. Yeah. And that's what we mean. So making sure that people, it's all about habits and behaviors. So they have to develop those habits and behaviors to become the person that they want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we'll dive into it a little bit more. So in terms of your background, before you started doing what you do now, what were you doing?
Before I started coaching?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was at uni studying exercise and nutrition science with the intention of taking that to medicine, and being a doctor. I didn't go that route. Sorry, Dad. That changed to, within my first year of being there, changed to me wanting to do physiotherapy instead. And I had that in my head for about the next year and a half of my degree. And then in my last year, I spent some time at the Brisbane Broncos as a strength and conditioning intern. I mean, I was basically a glorified water boy, but I got to see some cool stuff, got to talk to some cool people, and I kind of fell in love with that, and I was like, oh man, I want to be a strength coach. So I'd already gotten into a master's of physio at the time, and I ended up pulling out of that, and had the intention of moving into a master's of strength conditioning, something I might still do at some point. However, it's not quite on the cards yet. But worked in Queensland Rugby League, so with the in the Queensland Cup with the North Devils for a little while coaching here as well, and just sort of building up as a CrossFit coach while doing the strength conditioning side. And then sometime during that, I realized that I actually enjoy coaching. I do enjoy coaching, you know, elite athletes, but you get a lot of satisfaction out of helping, you know, your
Gen Pop.
Yeah, your Gen Pop accomplish these things that they couldn't do without you, or that they didn't think that they could do themselves. I think one of the most rewarding things that I've had within coaching is just helping, you know, someone get their first pull-up. That's that, and it's super rewarding because you get to see these people work really hard to accomplish something, and over time, it might take 6 months, but seeing them get that's very rewarding. So I kind of fell in love with that and decided I wanted to coach full time in that sort of domain, but then as well help the elite accomplish their goals. So as I mentioned, I work with a few elite CrossFit athletes, some semi-final level athletes, and then, or if you don't follow CrossFit, semi-finals is like the stage before the games, and then also some higher level rugby league athletes and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think it's important. It's important to have both because it keeps you grounded. So I mean, in terms of coaching both, do you find that there's big carryover from what you learned from Gen Pop?
Yeah,
in 100%. Terms of how to get them to implement something.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, if I'm honest, coaching elite athletes is very easy when compared to coaching general population, and it's more because they, athletes have this way of solving physical problems, because that's what training is, right? We're solving a problem. We're problem solving. And whether it's solving a movement problem, a physiology problem, whatever it is.
Behavioral.
Yeah, athletes are really good at solving the movement side of that themselves. You tell them, I want you to go from A to B, and they'll figure out how to get there themselves. Whereas when you're coaching people who aren't at that level or aren't that in touch with their bodies, you become that little guide that helps them go from A to B, and it's the cueing, the things you say to them start to sort of click. And it's rewarding to see them get to those points. And then those little things that you actually learn from Gen Pop are really great to take to the elite. Because I had the strength coach of the Broncos say this to me. He's like, if you can coach elite athlete, if you can coach Gen Pop, you can coach anybody. Which is interesting. It's a cool concept, and I definitely agree with it now that I've been coaching for a while.
Yeah, and I think touching on that too, though, it is very important to be able to do what you teach.
Yeah.
I've seen that, you've seen that. I know sometimes a little bit different when you're 60 and you've been in the industry for 40 years.
Yeah.
But you still used to be able to do that. Yeah,
exactly. The way I see it, you have to either be able to do or have done the skill that you're trying to teach. If I can't muscle up, how am I going to teach somebody to muscle up? And on that point as well, something that can be difficult is when I first started, I found it very difficult to teach people higher level skills that I could do, but it was because that I hadn't had to go through the process of learning how to do that skill.
You already had it.
Yeah, like humble brag, I didn't have to learn anything. Yeah. I could do it. Yeah, I didn't do it great, but I kind of figured out the equation, but I didn't have anybody telling me what to do. I didn't have to practice these drills. So initially it was very hard to get people to do something. Again, a muscle up, like just get on top of the bar.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
I was the opposite.
Yeah, it's so that's where those things are quite funny. I have, I'm better with the weightlifting because I sucked at weightlifting when I started.
Yeah.
So, you have these two ends of the spectrum, but I think, you definitely have to be able to do something to teach it to somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I look at one of the cues I gave the other week was I just got another coach to record themselves. I didn't give them any coaching. I didn't give them any guidance. And the whole point was learn from yourself. Yep. Go through the process of play, go through the process of change and fiddling, and you'll learn a lot that you can take away and then help other people with.
Yeah. On that topic of play too, how often do you see children play for half an hour and figure something out and they've got it? It's so important. I do that for my athletes. I actually have in their programs 10 to 15 minute play sessions. I'll give them, like, say we're trying to learn how to handstand walk, I'll give them all these drills to help strengthen their shoulders to handstand walk, give them an awareness of where their body is, show them what their body line's supposed to be like. But then at the end of that session, I'll write 10 to 15 minutes of handstand play, do some handstand walks, fall over, etc. Because that's how you learn. Unfortunately, as we get older, it's kind of something we stop doing. So for adults especially, play.
Yeah, we lose touch with one of our best skills we have.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of it's the ability to forget the failure and just apply change and move on.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you learn from the mistake, and then you go and you fix it. You know, oh, my toes weren't high enough, and it meant that I pulled my chest right into the bar. Okay, I'm gonna get my toes higher this time. You know, just these little things that you'll figure out yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have to create the motor pattern to do that. I can't make it for you. You can't make it for someone. You have to figure it out yourself, and you will have your own little individual variants to that, however it may be. You know, on that, you might do your muscle up with straight legs. I might do mine with bent legs.
Yeah, and that would change. I think for a lot of people watching the sport of CrossFit and watching athletes move, mixed modality training is very different to just an isolation movement. The way you'll do a muscle up by itself, fresh as repeat efforts, is very different to the way you'll do thrusters and muscle ups, or running, thrusters, bar facing burpees, muscle ups.
Yeah, exactly.
You see it with running. You see a lot of CrossFitters when they run, a lot of runners will be like, oh, look at the gait, look at the way they're moving, look at this. But then they forget that they've got deadlifts. We've seen good level runners come in here, do mixed modality training
and suck
and run like giraffes after.
Yeah, and it's just, it's those little bits of fatigue that they're not used to. You know, they go and they do a bunch of toes to bar, and then they go and try and run, and their hip flexors are jacked, and they can't run properly. Their stride's all out of whack. Their midline's gone. You see they're arching their back, and suddenly they come in like, oh, my back's blown up.
Yeah.
You know, it's just posture. You know, their posture's gone because they're not used to it.
It's ways of managing fatigue sometimes, is changing the pattern up slightly.
Yeah, 100%. I think you know, let's start to wrap this one up, and we'll see where we can go for our next one.
Yes, I think moving forward, what we want to do is obviously we'll set a lot more structure up for our podcast. We'll have open conversations. We would like to get a lot of member questions in. We will be covering, like we said, a lot of research articles and trying to help people understand what's going on. Reading is a big part of it, so we do advise people read books and things like that, but a lot of the time it can take a while for literature to
catch up to
get into a book format.
I think on that, you know, what we're trying to do here is we were doing this for our members in a quiet sort of private space, was taking things and advice and literature, whatever it might be, and just trying to put it into a format that our members could understand and could see. And we had some success with that within the membership. So we thought, you know, why not take it out and put it to the public, try and get a bit of a podcast going, and see how that
we
goes.
think conversation and perspective is important. So it won't always be us two. You will find that other coaches will be on. We're also going to get other guests to come on because it is different points of view, and discussion is a big part of moving in the right direction. Yeah,
definitely. So, you know, we haven't really got a topic set up for our next time, but, you know, we'll put a little poll out on our Instagram, see if we can get some questions in from some people.
Yeah, I've got a couple
you got some
that I would like to cover. I mean, there is the fasting's a big thing at the moment, so maybe covering some of the literature around fasting and what's been seen. And even what we spoke about before is behaviors, habits, and obviously achieving what you set out to achieve. We can touch on retention. So we can touch on the studies that are showing who retains what they achieve, who doesn't retain what they achieve, and why. What are we seeing? What are the common factors and behaviors? Yeah.
So, I mean, we're, like we said, we're going to take the complicated literature, because if anyone's ever tried to read a research article without learning how to do it, it's actually very, very complicated, and there's a lot of jargon and stuff that just doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but doesn't really need to be spoken about. So we're going to try and take that literature, we're going to put it into a short form verbal context, and we're going to try and give you some practical applications to take that away and see if you can implement some of that into your life.
Exactly. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. All right. If you're a sponsor listening to this podcast and you'd like to, or not a sponsor yet, and you'd like to, you know, I don't know, sponsor us, you know, shoot us a message on the Instagram, or just chuck something in the comments here if you're listening on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts. Give us that 5-star rating as well. Obviously, it helps a little bit to get us out there, and get more people listening to the podcast and
Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
yeah, bam. Nice. I like it. All right. That is us done. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, good people.